Someone scratched her out and mailed the photo to the archive. A Cozy Archivist Mystery, Episode 1. In Brineford, trouble rarely kicked down your door. It arrived quietly and waited for you to notice. I'm Calder Fox. Welcome to Brineford, where lost things tend to leave clues. The envelope looked harmless. That was the problem. Evie Hart set it on the archive's oak table and stared at it for a beat too long, like it might decide to grow a return address out of guilt. No name, no note, just her address in plain handwriting. Behind her, the kettle clicked off again. Maya Lin was facing the scanner with the same expression she saved for unhelpful technology and people who said it's probably nothing. It did that thing, Maya said. The dramatic pause before it ruins your life. Evie lifted her mug. It's a scanner. Maya narrowed her eyes. It has motives. Caleb Shaw appeared in the doorway, hands in his pockets, face calm the way it got when he was trying to keep the room calm too. Retired detective, lighthouse docent, dry humor, served neat. What arrived? Caleb asked. Evie tapped the envelope. Something that didn't want its name on it. Caleb's gaze went to the handwriting. Anonymous mail is either guilt or leverage. Maya leaned in. Open it. Evie should have photographed it first, logged it, noted the postmark, done all the responsible things that made history harder to tamper with. But the envelope had a pull to it, like it was meant to be opened here, in this room, on this table. Evie slid the letter opener under the flap, and a photograph slipped out. Black and white, scalloped edges, Wicked Point Pier. The lighthouse in the distance. A neat row of smiling faces arranged the way people arrange themselves when they wanted to look respectable. The paper itself looked weathered, softened corners, a bit of grit pressed into the back, like it had been stored somewhere close enough to the elements that it still smelled faintly of sea air, with hints of earth and old wood. Except for the one thing it couldn't hide. One face had been scratched out so thoroughly the paper was rough and pale. Whoever did it hadn't aimed for anonymity. They'd aimed for erasure. Maya went still. Oh, she said softly. Caleb leaned in, eyes narrowing. That's deliberate. Evie tipped the photo toward the window light. The scratching went for the eyes first, then the mouth, until the whole face became a blur of torn paper. Evie flipped the photograph over. 1979, penciled neatly. Below it, Pier Committee, Wicket Point. A list of names followed, some familiar, some the kind that felt familiar because Brineford reused names the way it reused stories. And then, something else. A shallow indentation where a pencil had been pressed down hard enough to leave a groove. A name that had been there long enough to scar the paper before someone erased it. Maya traced the groove with her nail. They wrote it first, then erased it. Evie slid the photograph into a protective sleeve. Plastic made it look like evidence, which, at this point, it was. Someone scratched out a face, Evie said. Someone erased a name. And someone mailed it here. Caleb looked out through the window toward the harbor. 79, he said. That was the year of the Access mess. Evie glanced up. Access mess? Caleb's mouth twitched. Brineford argued about who owned the path by the marsh. Loudly. Well, for us. Maya blinked. Brineford got loud? People spoke in full sentences, Caleb said, and stopped bringing each other baked goods. Evie set the sleeved photo flat on the table. Market. Maya grinned. Finally. Caleb lifted a brow. Careful. The market is where opinions gather in herds. The weekly market smelled like apples, wool, and small talk that carried weight. People came for bread and jam. They also came to be seen and to see who was talking to who. At the quilting booth, June Pruitt stood in the center of a bright patchwork, greeting people warmly while hearing everything within range. June saw Evie and smiled. "There you are. I was about to send a search party." "Your search parties come with muffins and guilt," Evie said. June's eyes sparkled. "It's called community." Maya hovered like she was trying not to vibrate. A few steps away, a city worker knelt beside a folding table that had decided to wobble. He adjusted the brace with practiced patience. When he finished, he tested it and nodded to the vendor. "All set," he said. "If it starts acting up again, tell me before it dumps your scones." The vendor laughed. "Derek, you're a saint." Derek, mid-40s, wind-reddened cheeks, keys on his belt, shrugged like praise made him itchy. "Saints do miracles," he said. "This is just folding tables." His gaze flicked to Evie. "Morning, Evie." "Morning," Evie said. In Brineford, greetings were habit and armor. Derek's smile warmed a fraction. "How's the old house holding up?" "Still standing," Evie said. "Still judging us." He chuckled, then glanced at his phone with a faint crease between his brows. The crease softened when he pocketed it. "Gotta run," he said. "I'm headed to see my mom after this. She gets cranky if I'm late." June's expression gentled. "Tell Marge we said hello." Derek's smile returned small and real. "I will. She'll like that." Then he was gone, another moving piece in the market. Evie waited until June finished a sale, then slid the photo sleeve onto the quilt table like a confidential file. June looked down. Her smile didn't vanish, it withdrew. "Oh," said June quietly. Maya's eyes widened. "You know it?" June didn't touch the sleeve, but her hand hovered over it, recognition sharp. Evie lowered her voice. "Whose face?" June's gaze flicked to Caleb, then to Maya, then back to Evie. "Not here." Caleb nodded, toward the edge of the market where the crowd thinned. "We can walk." June nodded once. "Give me 2 minutes. I don't leave raffle money unattended." Evie slid the sleeve back into her bag, and a shadow fell across the quilt table. A man's voice, smooth and public-friendly. "June," Graham Sloane said, as if they were old friends who only disagreed politely in public. "Lovely booth. This town would unravel without you." June's smile returned perfectly. "Mr. Sloane." Sloane looked at Evie like he'd already placed her in his mental file. "Miss Hart," he said, "I hear the archive is collecting Wicked Point materials again." "It's our job," Evie said. "History doesn't keep itself." Sloane's smile held. "Of course, I only worry about confusion." Maya bristled beside Evie. "Confusion?" Evie repeated. "Old disputes," Sloane said gently. "Old feelings. People remember things differently. It would be a shame if the town got tangled in controversy." Evie matched his tone. "History isn't controversial. It's context." Sloane's eyes cooled a fraction. "Context can be interpreted." Caleb stepped a half-pace closer, silent, present. Sloane glanced at the raffle sign, then back to Evie. "I'm sure you'll be responsible," he said, and somehow made it feel like pressure. "We all want what's best for Brineford." June's voice stayed mild. "We do." Sloane tipped his head and moved on, shaking hands with others and smiling as he faded into the market crowd. He left behind the chill of money, pretending to be civic virtue. Maya exhaled. "He gives me the feeling of a brochure that bites." June's eyes stayed on the crowd. "Now," she said quietly, "we walk." They took the long way to Wicket Point, where winter grass whispered and gulls argued overhead. June spoke without preamble. "That's the peer committee." Evie kept her eyes on June. "And the scratched-out face?" June stopped, looked out toward the lighthouse for a breath, then turned back. "Her name was Lillian Crow," June said. Maya's eyes flicked the pale oval. "So they didn't just scratch her out, they made sure her name couldn't survive." June nodded once. "She ran the boathouse, repairs, slip rentals, storage. She kept the pier working. And she kept records," June added. "Receipts, agreements, names." Evie felt the word names land hard. "Why erase her?" Evie asked. June's mouth tightened. Because she wouldn't sell. Caleb's voice came quiet. Sell to who? June's gaze hardened. To the kind of opportunity that ends with someone else owning the shoreline. Evie looked down at the scratched-out oval. They pressured her. June nodded. At first, it was polite. Then it wasn't. Rumors, messages delivered through other people. Nobody wanted fingerprints. Maya's hands clenched. Blackmail. June didn't deny it. Brineford wraps ugliness in good manners. Evie swallowed. So she left? One day she was gone, June said. Records gone with her. The boathouse sold not long after. Then the fire. No one saw anything, June added. Fog makes people unhelpful. Evie's mind started snapping pieces into place. If we put her name somewhere official, Evie said, somewhere it can't be scrubbed. Caleb nodded slowly. Then the scratchers don't win. Maya's voice went fierce. Where do we start? Back at the archive, the house greeted them with its usual hush. Maya scanned, Caleb sorted, June wrote names, and Evie flipped town minutes, looking for patterns. Maya's phone chimed with a local alert she'd set for herself. Brineford afternoons, live in 30 seconds. She brightened. He's on! Evie didn't look up from a binder. Miles? Maya set her phone on speaker. Miles Ketter's voice filled the room, warm, steady, careful. Good afternoon, Brineford. Quick reminder, if you've got old photographs or documents tied to Wicket Point, the Historical Society Archive is collecting for an upcoming display. June smiled into her tea. He's careful. Evie kept her eyes on the binder. He's kind, she said, and immediately wished she'd sounded less honest. The scanner beeped. Maya leaned closer to her screen. Evie, she said, you need to see this. On the screen, behind the committee faces near the pier railing, a small placard hung half obscured. The letters were blurred, but the symbol wasn't. Evie's pulse jumped. That's survey shorthand, Evie said. Old coastal notation. It marks an easement line. June frowned. Easement? Caleb's gaze went distant. The kind that decides whether a path stays public. Evie nodded. And the way it's placed, right by the pier, means somebody was thinking about access when they took this photo. Maya tapped the screen. So the photo wasn't just a memory. Evie flipped through the town's minutes again, faster now. If that symbol matters, it should show up in the paperwork. June pulled an old exhibit box from the shelf. Wicket Point tabs, dusty and forgotten. They moved in sync, like the room had decided this was its job now. Evie found it in a typed witness list attached to a committee packet. Boring, official, undeniable. Lillian Crow. There it was, in orderly type that didn't care who preferred silence. Evie stared at the name until it stopped feeling like ink. June exclaimed through her nose, So she was part of the record. Or she was in the way of it, Caleb said. Evie traced just above the line. This tells us she wasn't erased by accident. She was removed on purpose. Maya's voice went tight. Because she wouldn't sell. June nodded. And because she didn't forget what the shoreline used to be. Caleb spoke without drama. Before the access mess, you could walk most of this coast without feeling like you were trespassing. Then the signs started showing up. Private, restricted, no trespassing. June's mouth tightened. It starts small, one rope, one temporary closure, then another. And once people get used to a rope across a path, Evie said quietly, they stop remembering the path was ever theirs. Maya looked between them, and now Sloan wants more. June's eyes sharpened. He calls it revitalization. Caleb's voice was dry. Revitalization is what people say when they want to move the line and keep smiling while they do it. Evie slid the packet into a new protective sleeve. So Lillian's name survives now. They logged it, locked it, took a breath. The day should have ended there. Brineford disagreed. It was dusk when Evie flipped the front sign to closed. The harbor light outside went pewter, and the wind pressed at the window frames. Maya gathered her bag. June tucked raffle cash into her purse like it was state secrets. Caleb checked the front lock, then checked the side door handle with casual care. Evie was rinsing her mug when the doorbell rang. One polite chime. No one stood on the porch, just a sealed, plastic-wrapped lighthouse logbook placed squarely on the doormat, neat as a donation and twice as heavy with intention. Evie's stomach tightened. That wasn't there a minute ago. Caleb didn't open it. He angled it under the lamp and let the spine catch the light. The binding was damaged, fresh, fibers pulled hard. A page is missing, he said. Maya's voice went small. Already? Evie stared at the logbook, or still. Caleb crouched at the doorframe and ran a thumb along the jamb near the latch. Fresh scuffing, a thin mark in the paint, like something flat had been pressed in and slid away, quick, impatient. June's voice went flat. They were right here. Evie's mouth went dry. Not because the logbook was missing a page, because someone had just tested how close they could get. Evie looked down at the plastic-wrapped book and felt her resolve settle. Okay, she said quietly. And this time, the word didn't mean agreement. It meant, we start. I'm Calder Fox, and until the next object turns up, we'll file this one where it belongs, in Brineford. Next, Evie opens up the lighthouse logbook and finds a night Brineford tried to erase.